Good morning, everyone, or good night to those of you in North America. It's just 9 a.m. here in Dubai. We're going to give all of the people that are going to be joining us just a couple quick minutes to log in. And while you're waiting, just like last time, we're going to give you a quick pan of the space. All right, so if you're thinking it looks really quiet, that's because the show actually hasn't started yet. The show officially opens at 10 a.m., so we're giving you an hour ahead sneak peek. We wanted you to be able to see it without all the bodies getting in the way of the amazing dirt that we've built here. So I'm going to start things off by walking you through the space. I know we did a walkthrough while it was still under construction, so it'll be pretty cool to see it all finished. Keep your questions coming in though, and as we're walking through the space, I'll stop and answer them, or I'll put them on hold and answer them a little bit later when it makes more sense. So we'll start here. One of the awesome things that we're doing this year, I'm over here, guys. One of the awesome things we're doing this year is we're using capacitive touch in a number of different ways throughout the space. What does that mean? That's kind of a crazy name. It sounds really big and fancy, and that's because it is. Ultimately, what it means is that we're using the inside of the wall in conjunction with the tile here to actually be able to make some sort of function. Here we're showing something that we do a lot of in the Middle East, and that's patient waiting areas for children. And so being able to clean this surface but have it be fun for kids, or a little bit less scary because that one's aggressive, but not having all kinds of stuff for dirt and bacteria to get caught in. In a more functional application, we're also using it here to turn off and on the window. Okay, so if I'm a nurse and I'm observing a patient that's sleeping inside, I don't need to go in, disturb them, wake them potentially in the middle of the night. I can actually just check on them, see that they're all good, and then I can close that back off again so that they can get some privacy for the rest of the night. We're going to slip in here to our first patient room, and then we'll make our way around. Remember, keep those questions coming, and I will answer them throughout the tour. Are you doing questions? So, this is our first patient room. This is an adult, or basically not a child, patient room. We're going to finish with the NICU. So a couple things that are going on here. The first is that we're using the actual dirt tile to create some really awesome imagery. If any of you have ever been in the hospital, I myself haven't been since I was little, but I was visiting my grandfather over the Christmas holidays, and most hospitals are pretty drab. They're varying shades of beige, and they're not that calming. And so in dirt spaces, and a lot of the time in healthcare, we try and introduce different imagery so that the patient can get some calming outside views while they're stuck inside a facility healing. Here we're also using it for charting, so you can see that we have the patient name, who the doctor is that day, the nurse, the room number, just so that everyone's on the same page, and even the patient's family can get an update on their progress.
So we do have our first question coming in.
I got a question.
Yes, someone's commenting on the capacitive touch, and they are wondering what other technology do you have integrated throughout the booth?
Awesome question. And great timing. So this is another big example of the types of technologies we're integrating in the space. And you see this in all dirt spaces, whether that's corporate, education, or even in some of our residential projects, actually integrating the technology right within the wall. So here you're seeing just a standard off-the-shelf LED TV, and that's true of all of the televisions that you'll see embedded throughout the space. None of these are proprietary to DIRTT or some sort of super fancy TV. They're just off-the-shelf from Best Buy or whatever your local electronics store is. We just make the casing for it. Cool thing about this is it can also become a touch screen. So you'll see throughout the space different types of applications of this with varying functions in addition to the TVs themselves. In a more healthcare specific application, just sneak behind here, same thing, this is just a television, but we're actually using it here to show how a doctor might go over x-ray results with a patient, or explain to them some of the test results that they got back. Again, very visual so that everyone understands clearly what's going on. Different take on technology integration, but I always think about anything smart that's going inside the wall as being technology, and here we're also showing millwork doing that. Okay, so this space is hidden with tons of millwork. You can't see it, which means it's saving us precious square footage and real estate, but it means that whenever we do actually need it, it's at the ready. So another great example here is a little bit of a workstation. Or if the family's coming in to have a meal maybe with the patient and they need a table, now all of a sudden we have a table, but the other 98% of the time when we're not using this, folds up cleanly into the wall, and it's tucked away again so that it's not collecting dust or bacteria and becoming an issue for the hospital to maintain. And lastly, my favorite, I'm just going to show you a quick peek of it, is again, an integrated Murphy bed. So being able to actually pull this right down, and if I had someone staying overnight with me to keep me company when I was in the hospital, they'd actually be able to sleep on this. And in the morning, I can tuck it away, and it's out of sight, out of mind again, and we haven't used up that valuable square footage. So this kind of wraps up this room. Now we're going to sneak through the DIRTT bathroom, and I'm going to show you the NICU on the other side. Make sure you look at all the beautiful tile. Got some marble going on in here. Okay. I'm gonna grab a drink of my coffee while I wait for you guys. Delish. So, in the Middle East, we do a ton of NICU work. If you've ever checked out our partner NMG's website where they list all of their projects, at least a third of the projects are NICUs. Okay, so what we're showing this year is actually how we can convert a patient room to now be fully different in function. And what I mean by that is this exact room was actually much like our patient room on the other side last year. It was set up as an intensive care unit, but for an adult patient, and with some small modifications, some small adjustments to the heights of the different med gases. So I'll just show you here. Okay, so we raised these up a little bit because we no longer have a lower patient bed. We have a higher infant incubator here. So we have the med gases a little bit raised, but everything else is functionally very much the same. We changed a little bit of the graphics. So behind you, another example of that capacitive touch. Okay. So again, complete change in function, complete change in the aesthetic, small changes to the actual technology and function and where it's found in the space, but otherwise it's the exact same room, but serving a brand new purpose.
We do have another question coming in, which
okay.
You're kind of answering throughout the tour, but someone's wondering what makes this a comprehensive healthcare solution?
Okay, so the question is, what makes this a comprehensive healthcare solution? And the answer to that is the fact that we're providing a turnkey space. Okay, so DIRTT obviously is the method of construction, and we're providing the construction elements, but NMG are really awesome here in the Middle East because they do everything else, from design through furniture and medical equipment even. So this healthcare village, as we've been calling it, really is a turnkey space, because from the client saying, hey, I think I want to build a healthcare facility, to them actually being able to move in, NMG is the one who provides that holistic turnkey solution, including everything that they would need to actually open their doors and start generating profit. Any other questions right now?
Yeah, someone else is wondering if DIRTT only does healthcare spaces, or if everything that we're seeing here is usable in different applications.
The question is, does DIRTT only do healthcare spaces? And that's a great question, and I've kind of been really myopic in my view over our last 2 Facebook Lives because we're in a healthcare space. The answer is no. In the Middle East, the healthcare industry is our biggest vertical market, but in North America, we actually do the majority of our work in commercial construction and also in education and residential. The same types of benefits that I've been explaining to you over the last couple of days, so think about that speed of construction, that clean construction, and then that future flexibility and sustainability. Those all lend themselves really well to commercial, especially education. If you think about having just those short summer periods to renovate a space, we're able to accelerate the amount of construction they'd be able to do within that tiny little window. Anything else?
Yeah, another question. We've got Diana wondering if there's any issues with the reveals, with bacteria getting between the reveals and the tiles in the healthcare environment.
All right, so we obviously got a healthcare user here. Someone's asking, is there any issue? I mean, it looks like with DIRTT there's some reveals, and just behind me you can see what they mean. So rather than having just a drab, long wall, we actually have these little reveals going from one finish to the next. Oh, don't get too close on my nails. Haven't had a manicure in a while. So going from one finish to the next with a little bit of a break in between. And so the question is, hey, doesn't that mean that you get some bacteria caught in there? If you want to zoom in now, I'll remove my hand. You can see that we actually have medical gasketing that's filling in the DIRTT reveal in a patient setting. So when we get into a higher acuity space, as we call it, which basically just means that infection prevention becomes a top priority, then we start to close in those reveals so that we have a complete surface with no gaps that's easily cleanable and can be treated with the same bleach, cleaners, or whatever the hospital's used to and standardized on. Good question. So we'll keep touring around. We don't have any questions right now, but I'll get to them as they come in. So standing out here, we'll take a bird's eye view back into the space. All right. So looking at it again kind of holistically, you're probably seeing a lot of the same trends that you saw in the other space. So integrated technology, millwork, lots of graphics, but again with a completely different feel because we have a different function in this space. So to sort of build on one of the questions we had about is DIRTT only in healthcare, the big thing is this is all the same DIRTT, it just looks and performs differently depending on the application. So think about it, drywall's the same if it's building your living room or if it's building your house. DIRTT's the same no matter where it's actually being built, so whether that's a school or a hospital setting.
We've got someone else actually also wondering if NMG is your only partner and if DIRTT just deals exclusively with the Middle East.
Okay, so the question was, is NMG DIRTT's only partner, and does DIRTT deal exclusively in the Middle East? So that's two-parter. The first answer is no, NMG is not our only partner. We have just over 100 partners across our whole company, and if you're wondering what our partner is, think about DIRTT as the really cool technology and the method of construction, but all of that intelligence and that team that are actually going to build the space and work as that multi-trade subcontractor is our partner. So in the Middle East, we work exclusively with NMG, but we have, like I said, almost 100 other partners back in North America. We've got a partner in Europe, we've got a partner in India, we've got a partner in Singapore. So we're kind of all over the place, but this show and what we're doing here in the Middle East is with NMG. I forgot part two, or maybe I answered it.
You didn't answer.
I answered it. This is why I have really good help, because I can't remember these things. So thanks for the question. Keep them coming if you have anything else.
Can you maybe do a pan shot and show how our booth compares?
So the question is, what do the other booths look like and how do we compare? So I'll just get you to pan and see some of the other booths. So what you're probably noticing is there's a ton of white and there isn't a lot of technology, and when there is technology, it's actually just being mounted off the wall. So this is a much less sophisticated application, and as you heard during the build and if you were following the blog, that's kind of all we can do in a limited time. Oh, say hi, Mogans, we're on live.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Okay.
Order entry was small yesterday, better pick it up here.
Order entry was slow yesterday, so what was that? That was Monday. No excuses, right?
Barry as well?
And Barry.
Barry.
Okay. All right, so fearless leaders there, off for their morning coffee. So back to the booths. Ultimately, we have a short period of time that we're able to build in here. We only have a maximum of 4 days. DIRTT can build an incredibly sophisticated booth because 90% of the construction is happening in a factory across the ocean in North America, whereas these guys all had to fabricate everything on site, which means they're limited in what they can actually put together.
We've got someone wondering if DIRTT also builds all of the infrastructure, such as the electrical.
Okay, so the question was, does DIRTT do all of the infrastructure as well? So some of the electrical and then as well the actual structure here. The answer is, again, we are turnkey for all of the constructed elements here. So what you're looking at is a DIRTT timber frame construction. One of my favorite parts about this timber is this is our 3rd year using it, and we're going to continue to use it while adapting the actual guts of what gets put in it year over year. So this was manufactured in our Calgary factory along with all of the tiles that you're seeing, the frames in Savannah. In terms of the guts of the wall and what's being plugged in there, we make a lot of it, but a lot of it we don't. So I'll give you one example over here. So I talked already about the technology. That's just from Best Buy. Another example is those med gases that are going in the wall. If you zoom in on even the call button there, you can see that that says Crest. So that's another manufacturer. We're just integrating it. Whereas I'll show you our newest med gases, which is going to be more of a joint venture between DIRTT. So this is our use of flex gases. So we're not just integrating, but also helping on the R&D with this particular solution. So rather than having a rigid conduit, so that just means a hard, solid pipe that feeds its way to the med gas, now we have the med gas attached to a hose, and only at the top of the wall is it attached to a rigid pipe, which means that that entire cavity becomes flexible for us to maintain, move, and update and adapt the med gases without having to change any of that rigid element that's just finding its way in the ceiling.
Someone else asking the square footage of this is.
So the booth is 3,600 square feet over 2 floors. So we've just been walking around the ground floor here. I'll just pan upstairs. So you can see that we've got about 850 square feet upstairs. All right. Good morning. So that's it for questions right now. I know we've been on for about 10 minutes, so I want to make sure that we're wrapping this up within a good period of time for you guys. So make sure to tune into the blog. We finished the build, but a lot of the recaps as to what happened for those 3 days are going to be posted today. Lots of content on what we're doing with ICE and the virtual reality upstairs, which is really exciting, is going to be posted. And we're also going to be doing some healthcare stories on why our build team are so emotionally invested in what we're doing to improve this industry. Thanks for tuning in. Have a really good sleep. I know it's late over there, and we hope that we'll catch you. Oh, someone's motioning something to me.
Yes, one more question. Someone's wondering what's happening upstairs, and are we doing anything with VR this year?
You guys just can't get enough. None of you want to go to sleep, apparently. So the question is, what's going on with ICE Reality? What's going on upstairs? I want to leave you wanting more, so I'll just give you a quick hint. We have an avatar that's actually walking people through the space and giving our tours this year. So obviously I'm a pretty good tour guide. I'm sure all of you would agree, but you know what's even better? A virtual man who will walk you through that you can't even see unless you're wearing our headset. The other thing we're showing is a lot of the intelligence of what's going in behind the tile that you can't otherwise see. So the comparison I'll give you is working in ICE VR is like, imagine you and your spouse were going to look at an open house of a show home. You wouldn't wait while your husband or wife went in and took a look at it, and then you would go in after them and take a look and debrief on the driveway. You want to go in and experience the space together, and so that's what ICE VR is allowing all of the booth attendees to do. It's actually experience the space, whether they're here or at home would be the goal in the future on a real project. So I'm going to sign off now before any more questions come in. Thanks again, and please again follow us on the blog for the next 3 days.